Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Lord. I'm speaking to you directly because of the times that we're in. In fact, Daniel says in chapter 12, verses 1 through, well, I'll just read until. But anyway, it says, starting with chapter 12, verse 1, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever." I don't know if we're in that time of trouble yet. We may be in a little time of trouble. This may be a dress rehearsal for that time of trouble. I don't know. But what I do know is that we are facing a time of trouble. And brothers and sisters, we have waited too long to prepare. When Jesus stands up, when he's done with the judgment in heaven that began in 1844, according to Daniel's prophecies, then I think that means probation is over for the world. It means that those who are sealed are sealed, and those who are judged are judged. And beyond that, we can do nothing. We've heard all kinds of talk about vaccines and certificates for vaccines and different things, and I don't know. I don't know what all of this means. We're all in confusion. And my favorite author talked about that time. When Jesus leaves the sanctuary, darkness covers the inhabitants of the earth. In that fearful time, the righteous must live in the sight of a holy God without an intercessor. The restraint which has been held upon the wicked is removed, and Satan has entire control of the finally impenitent. Notice it says the finally impenitent. That means the sinners, not the righteous. God's long suffering has ended. The world has rejected his mercy, despised his love, and trampled upon his law. The wicked have passed the boundary of their probation. The Spirit of God, persistently resisted, has been at last withdrawn. Unsheltered by divine grace, the children of God have no protection, or the wicked have no protection from the wicked one. The wicked have no protection from Satan. So, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Just before we entered the time of trouble, we all received the seal of the living God. Then I saw the four angels cease to hold the four winds, and I saw famine, pestilence, and sword. Nation rose against nation, and the whole world was in confusion. Well, we've got pestilence, and Africa's got locust, which means famine. And in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, let me just read that to you. Look it up pretty quickly here. 2 Chronicles 7, if you want to follow along with me. I'm going to start with verse 13. "If I shut up heaven, that there be no rain." Well, what happens when there's no rain? There's drought. It means the land is dry. That means there's going to be fires. We've seen some really devastating fires in California this year, as well as Australia. Or if I command the locusts to devour the land, which is going on in Africa and the Middle East right now. Clouds of locusts and no end in sight. Or if I send pestilence among my people. Well, we have a pandemic called coronavirus or COVID-19. That's a pestilence, boys and girls, brothers and sisters. If my people, which are called by my name, that means Christians, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. Well, yeah, but if the winds, if the four angels have released the winds, the only time the land, I'm sorry, I'm being eaten up by mosquitoes here. They love my natural mosquito repellent. So it hasn't been very effective. So, like I said, just before we entered the time of trouble, we all received the seal of the living God. Then I saw the four angels cease to hold the four winds, and I saw famine, pestilence, and sword. Nation rose against nation, and the whole world was in deep confusion. And the world is in deep confusion. I mean, we're confused about gender. We're confused about abortion and whether or not it's good or whether or not it's evil. And we're believing lies from the media. We don't know what's right. We don't know what's wrong. We're all confused because the media is not telling the truth, and nobody knows what the truth is anymore. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion going on right now, and but this is not really what I want to talk to you about today. I just want to bring you to the point why I'm going to talk to you about what I'm going to talk to you about. Now, I'm speaking to you from inside my van. This is my, well, it was supposed to be my Gospel Gypsy Caravan Adventure van, but I had hoped to have more time where I could go to different places and explore beautiful scenery and talk to people and get their stories and share all kinds of adventures. But this pestilence, this coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, has put everything on hold for not just me, but for everybody in the world. Everybody's on hold. We're all on stay-at-home quarantine. We're all wearing masks when we're out in public. We're all taking precautions that we don't get this virus. And it's highly contagious. In some cases, it's deadly. And in other cases, people just have mild symptoms, or they don't have any symptoms at all and they just carry it and give it to other people. But we're all confused because of all of this. We're all thrown into this thing together, the whole world, everybody. And we don't know when it's going to end. Right now, we're at the end of the first wave, but already in China, they're seeing a second wave. And as we know from history, especially with the most recent pestilence, the Spanish flu, which was also a pandemic that killed millions, the second wave is deadlier than the first. Not because it's any stronger, the disease isn't any stronger, but people are more lax in their approach to it, and they are more highly exposed, and that's when it gets deadly, is when you just ignore what you need to do to protect yourself. And that's when it's deadly. And with the Spanish flu, there were 3 waves. There was the first wave, which was the initial exposure, and people succumbed. Many people died in the first wave. But then the first wave ended and people relaxed and they went back to living normally, and bam, the second wave hit, and more people died in the second wave. And then after the second wave, people took it more seriously. But then the seasons passed and a third wave came. It took 2 years for the Spanish flu to be completely eradicated. 2 years, brothers and sisters. 2 years. And we've only been in it for a few months. We've only been in it since, what, January? And we only started taking precautions in March. So yeah, this is just the end of the first wave. We're approaching the second wave, and already Georgia has relaxed everything. But let me just talk about preparation, shall I? So I thought I was pretty well prepared. I've got this desk behind me. It's set up for a galley. I've got my pots and pans and my dishes and my silverware and utensils, and I've got boxes of food, and I've got pots and pans, and I've got skillets hanging on the wall back there. I don't know if you can see it. I've got these clever Lucy lights, which are solar powered lamps. They're great, by the way. You should get a few. I have 2. I have a battery operated radio, which I don't know if you can see it in the corner back there. It needs batteries right now. I've got a butane stove, which I had a propane stove and I should have kept it. Propane is more efficient than butane and it's cheaper. Plus I had a 2-burner stove, whereas my butane stove is only 1 burner. I've got my portable toilet here, and it's not that efficient either. It's what they're called a cassette toilet, which means you can take the top part off that has the toilet bowl and dump the waste from the bottom part. But you need to have a place to dump it, and the parks are closed. So how do you dump it? Well, you can't. So it's going to overflow because you can't dump it. So honestly, you can't use it. Your best bet is to get you a 5-gallon bucket and a toilet seat that fits on it, and they sell them at Walmart, by the way. Fill it with a plastic bag, and get some peat moss, and put a layer of peat moss in the bottom. And then every time you use the toilet, just add another layer of peat moss to keep the smell down. And then when you get to a place where you can dig a hole and bury it, that's what you do. You get a shovel, get a camp-sized shovel, not a big shovel, just a small, about this big camp-sized shovel, dig a hole and bury the compost, because that's what this is going to become, is compost. That's going to be your most efficient toilet right there. And these are nice. They're pretty and they're comfortable, but you can't dump them. So, no, you can't dump them. Eventually you're not going to be able to buy propane. You're not going to be able to buy butane. You're not going to be able to buy batteries. So the only thing you can do is create solar power for yourself, which I haven't been able to do at this point. I just got the van earlier this year. I only made my first payment last month. That's how new this van is. So I haven't been able to do much but put my bed and some stuff in here. I've got some clothes, I've got some books, I've got some little decorations that you can see in the back. I've got little artwork, and I've got some shell craft over here, and battery operated candles, which is attractive, and it gives you a little bit of ambiance. Makes it seem less like a cargo van and more homey. And I've got some flowers in a cup holder over by my driver's seat, um, silk flowers. I've got my guitar, I've got my ukulele, but I've made it comfortable and I've made it cozy. I've got, my lovely quilt and pillow shams and decorative pillows, and so it's cozy and it looks cute. But I don't have insulation. I don't have windows that I can open with a screen to protect me from the mosquitoes and give me a cross current. I don't have a ceiling fan to draw out the heat. The insulation is important to keep you protected from the heat in the summer and the cold in the winter, because let me tell you, even in South Florida, you can freeze in one of these things if it's not insulated. So, first thing on my agenda, after I can get internet again, which right now I don't have access to, is putting in a couple of windows. The windows are cheap. RV windows are inexpensive. They're under $200. Some of them are even under $100. You can even get used windows, which, if you know what you're doing, I recommend. If you don't know what you're doing, get the brand new ones, because it'll have the instructions. There's videos on YouTube. Mark Moser, I think his name is, has some brilliant videos on how to install everything from insulation to windows to solar power and everything else in between. So, yeah, go on YouTube and study these videos on how to put together, whether you have a cargo van, which I recommend because of the stealth opportunities, school buses, which they're huge, they stand out, but they look like a school bus, and nobody's really going to question a school bus that much. RVs stick out like a sore thumb. I don't recommend RVs, plus the generators require gasoline, they're noisy, they're smelly, and there's danger of CO2 poisoning. Just to throw that in there. But get something. Get something. You can get a used school bus for about $5,000 and turn it into a camper. You can get this cargo van, is a little more expensive, and but it's more stealth, and you can park pretty much anywhere you want. If you park in the woods, you're going to want to get some camouflage netting or some kind of a cover for it to make it stand out less. I may even, if I get the money, I may paint it a darker color, like a gray or something, so that it's not as visible in the woods. But white stands out, and my van is white right now. Anything that's solar powered, get them. Like the lanterns that I showed you, the Lucy lamps. You can get those at Walmart. They're cheap. But anything that is solar powered, anything that is 12 volt, eventually you're not going to be able to buy gasoline to run your vehicle. You're going to have to park it and walk away from it at some point, and just carry what you can carry on your back, and eventually you're going to dump that. You're going to be bugged by bugs. That's just all there is to it. You're going to be bugged by bugs. You're not going to be able to buy repellent. You're not going to be able to buy food. You're going to have to learn now what you should have learned in Pathfinders or Scouts, and that is edible and medicinal plants. And there's a difference. Some of the medicinal plants you cannot eat, and some of the edible plants are not medicinal. My great-grandmother was one of the Appalachian granny healers, and she knew her herbs. She knew her herbs, and she would go out, or she would send her children and grandchildren after she got older, and have them collect all kinds of blossoms and leaves and roots and bark. You can make your own charcoal, which is very good for filtering water. It's good for cleansing your body of any toxins. she would collect red clover blossoms and she would dry them, and she would make a tea or a tonic, and everybody would drink this and nobody would get sick. So red clover blossom is very important to know. Comfrey root. If you get a cut, comfrey root is mucilaginous, and you can dry it. You can make uh, the root, not the leaves, but the root. The leaves are medicinal also, but the root is the most important. You dry the root and then you crush it up into powder, and you make a poultice and you put it on the open wound, and it will heal, uh, which I've done myself on when I had surgery on my hand. I don't even have a visible scar. You really have to look for the scar to find it. Um, and if you don't know where the scar is, you're not going to see it. But yeah, it's a mucilaginous properties will bind the skin and help it to grow and prevent scarring. Um, and these are things that I've used, I'm telling you about. Manzanita leaves, they're in the laurel family. So I don't know if all laurels are this useful, but manzanita leaves, very useful. You can dry them, make a tea out of those, and just wash yourself with it against poison ivy, poison oak. Haven't tried it with mosquitoes, but I'd love to have some right now to try it, because I'm eaten up. And I did use the natural bug repellent. Shall I mention the brand name was Burt's Bees natural bug mosquito repellent? It doesn't work. They love it. I got so many new bites since I put it on. So the mosquitoes love Burt's Bees. Um, so, these are just a few, but you can get books. You can get books. And I've got those books, and some of them are that thick, and they're full of, small print and thousands of different herbs and what we would call herbs, because they're herbal remedies. And bay leaves. If you get congestion, um, bay leaves, you boil it. Boil about 12 bay leaves in some water. Hold a towel over your head, turn the fire off, and breathe in that steam for as long as you can stand it, because eventually the steam is going to get really hot and uncomfortable. But if you can go 3 to 5 minutes breathing that steam, those bay leaves are going to break up that congestion and help you to breathe better. Throw in some oregano with the bay leaves, and because oregano oil is really potent too, and it'll help. So throw in some oregano with those bay leaves, and breathe in that steam. And I've done it myself when I had the flu, and it worked like a charm. Um, Ginger, garlic, lemons. Of course, you're not going to be able to find these out in the wilderness, and we are going to have to hide in the wilderness, boys and girls, let me tell you. So if you've been a Pathfinder, brush up on your Pathfinder skills. If your kids are in Pathfinders, make sure the Pathfinder leader instructs them about these things. Hopefully next time I can show you. I'll try to post some photographs of the books that I have on Gospel Gypsy Caravan on Facebook, so that you can see those and order them. Some of them are quite expensive, some of them are inexpensive, but learn these different herbs, which ones are edible. There was this guy back in the 70s, I can't remember his name, Ewell something. Ewell Gibbons, that's what it was, Ewell Gibbons. I think it's Euell Gibbons, Gibbons. And he used to have these commercials for certain products that were touting natural ingredients. And he would talk about these different plants that were edible. And we used to make jokes. This is Ewell Gibbons. Ever eat a rock? Most rocks are edible. But, we joked about it then, but it's not funny now. This is stuff we wished we remembered which of those plants he was talking about in those commercials. And each commercial featured a different plant that was edible or medicinal. And so, yeah, learn which plants you can eat for food. Learn which plants you can use for medicine, for different things. And we're not going to be able to carry all these things. We're going to have to look for them out in the wilderness. We're going to have to know what family these plants come from, so that when we see them out in the wild, we can say, ah, yes, I can use that. That will work. And, you know, golden seal was huge, but I think somebody's banned it in the government. So many herbs that we used back in the 70s have been banned. Comfrey root, you can't find comfrey root anywhere on the shelves anymore. You can't find golden seal too often. The echinacea plant with purple coneflowers, marvelous plant. It's good for the immune system. It's good for colds and so many plants. I wish I could remember all of them, but my mind is blank right now, and I apologize for that. But as I am able to get back on the internet, I will attempt to post these things for your edification and education and knowledge, so that you can get your family prepared. And like I said, get as many solar powered items as you can to help you in this journey, because we're going to have to rely on the sunlight for our power. We're not going to have, no, cell phones, you're going to have to leave them behind. Laptops, you're going to have to leave them behind. Tablets, you're going to have to leave them behind. Because unless you've got a way to power them up, folks, and besides which, you know, there is that GPS concern. You don't want anybody finding you, so you want to take that under consideration and keep that in mind, that if you have something with GPS in it, somebody's going to find you, and it may not be somebody that you want to find you, because we're told that they're going to come up against us to kill us. That's right. Some of us are going to be in prison. Some of us may become martyrs. Some of us may be able to hide out until the Lord comes. But we're all going to be in danger. And the Bible says, woe unto those who are with child or give suck. And as I tell you this, I'm reminded of the Holocaust, where many women who were pregnant and who had young children prone to crying, the babies would cry, and it would give away their position if they were hiding, and they would be captured and sent to the death camps. You know, we still have those camps that we built for the Japanese back in World War II. They're still in existence. They've never been demolished. Maybe one or two for showmanship, saying, look what we've done. We've destroyed this camp that we used to house the Japanese in. But that was for show, I think, because there were several camps all over the United States. And yeah, just ask George Takei about that. He was in one with his family. They lost everything they had. We're going to lose everything we have. But if you can prevent it for as long as possible by getting yourself situated in one of these, then get it done. Don't wait. Get it done now while you still can, before you can't anymore. Because there's going to come a time when you can't anymore. So prepare, brothers and sisters, for the time of trouble. God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you on this Sabbath day. And may I be able to get this launched so that you can see it. and I'm gonna fight my mosquitoes and get some breakfast. Sorry for the wobbling, but let me just show you really quick. This is my ProMaster 1500, and I've got my bed. You can see I've got some not toiletries, but yeah, toiletries and some medicine in that white cabinet. My heart medicines, my first aid kit, my blood pressure kit, thermometer, all of that stuff you're going to need. You can see my ukulele, and over here you've got my guitar, and you can see my shoes. I got some things at Dollar Tree, which I put my shoes up on with binder clips and hair bands. And then I've got my galley, and underneath I've got my clothes and some more boxes of food and supplies. And I've got some supplies under my couch, and my gym bag, which I can't go to the gym to take showers anymore. Behind that curtain, there's a pull-out thing to store canned goods and spices. And let me just open this door over here. And you're gonna see I've got a couple of jugs that I use for running water. And I've got a water filter pitcher. I've got a collapsible sink. And I've got my laundry supplies and some cleaning supplies and stuff like peroxide. Peroxide is important to wash the bottoms of your shoes before you bring them into your camper, so that you're not bringing in any germs and bacteria and stuff onto the floor. I've got a hot water bottle, which is great. You can fill it up with cold water to keep you cool in bed, or hot water to keep you warm in bed. Plenty of water jugs. You're gonna want plenty of water. So I'm gonna close out now. As you can see, I'm at my church. They're gonna be filming and streaming a live broadcast of our services this morning. And so God bless you and keep you safe and keep you in the Word, so that you can know how to prepare. And thank you for listening. This is Kyrila Scully at Gospel Gypsy Caravan signing out. Love y'all.